Hello everybody, Andy here again. Well, I wanted to talk about something that's been happening here on YouTube very recently, something that I've noticed, I'm sure everybody's noticed, all about, I think I've called this video, I'm not sure yet, but probably the accidental superstar. What I'm talking about that is that sort of phenomenon that happens every so often here on YouTube and in the wider media conscious world, should we say, where someone gets plucked out of the relative obscurity, thrown up there into YouTube, the video goes viral and all that sort of thing. I'm talking about the video by Susan Boyle. Admittedly, it's a video that I have not watched. A TV programme over here in the UK, one of those reality shows, Britain's Got Talent, sort of thrown up this lady with an amazing voice by all accounts. My wife's seen her, my family have seen her, and apparently the voice that she's got is absolutely brilliant. The video that was made, the official versions and all the other versions that are up there on YouTube have been viewed sort of 40 odd million times in their various different forms. She's become a superstar both in Britain and also over there in America, where she was picked up by various TV stations and all this type of thing. And once again, this just shows you what can happen now with this type of world that we're living in now. Reality shows have come along, and I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not a big fan of these reality TV shows, these sort of talent type shows. It's not, although it can be compelling TV, I'll be quite happy to admit that. I've sat down and not wanted to watch bits of it. You sit there, the family are watching it, and you watch a little bit, and you become drawn in. You become hooked by it in some way, partly because it's that sort of spectacle. It's a bit like like a bear pit in some ways. You watch a bit of especially the Britain's Got Talent competition, where you've actually in front of a live audience, and they're sort of baying for blood. They're sort of shouting off, and it's bits like a medieval theatre. You expect them to start throwing rotten apples and eggs and tomatoes and things like that at any type of moment. And there is that sort of baiting sort of thing that's going on. But every so often, there's a lot of rubbish on there, and I'll be quite happy to admit that straight away. I'm out of the sort of Simon Cowell camp in that respect. Talk straight, talk realistically, and look at these people. Some people I've seen on there, and you think, oh yeah, that person's got something, but most of it is absolute dross. And sometimes these people do need to be told, although they got the guts to get up there and put themselves up for inevitable ridicule. I think in front of millions and millions of people. We might do it here. You never know what might happen, but generally it's going to be a few hundred, if that. They're doing it in front of a TV audience, and the TV audiences love those people that are really awful, where everything goes wrong, and they're just not very talented at all. But as I said, every so often you'll get that talent that comes out. And the point of what I'm talking about here really is also a talent that would never ever have been discovered if it hadn't have been for a TV show like that. So that's the plus side of those reality shows. As I said, they take up too much time on TV, and there's too many variations to them. But the straightforward ones, the American Idols, I suppose, the Britain's Got Talent type of thing, that's more of a variety thing. We've got the X Factor and all those type of things over here in the UK as well. And they do throw up some very, very good talent. As I said, talent that would never have got noticed beforehand. So it's giving us people, the ordinary person, a chance to put themselves out there if they want to. As I said before, we've all got little hidden talent somewhere along the line, but we don't always get a chance to express it. We don't always realise we've got these talents sometimes. But I see people, we've all seen people we know could actually possibly make it in the wider world if they were given the opportunity, if they were given that little chance, that bit of exposure or something like that. But the point about Susan Boyle, I'm not being derogatory to her, as I said, I've not seen the video, I've not heard, but I know from everybody's told me that she's got an amazing voice and everything like that. But what is more surprising, what I think people are concentrating on in some other ways is, as I said, she would never have got noticed if it hadn't been for this talent. But this particular show, but she probably wouldn't have got noticed also because she's very ordinary, and that's another thing that can happen with this. And as I said, I'm not being nasty to her at all. She's a plain woman. She's not the most photogenic or anything like that, and she would never have got the exposure if it hadn't been for this. Some of the other people on there, you can look at them and you think, yeah, there's something there. You can see it in the way that they are, the way that they look. They've got that sort of look to them. Maybe they've groomed themselves that way, I don't know. And we know that so much talent nowadays, some of these other reality sort of shows that have thrown up things, all the manufactured pop and manufactured music, manufactured TV, media generally, films and all that, you have to look good, don't you? You have to have that sort of certain body style. Everyone's sort of forced down that route through magazines and TV shows and all the sort of health shows and all those makeover shows that we get nowadays. Everybody's expected to conform to a certain norm to make yourself look good, to make yourself look normal, I suppose, what other people think is normal, the acceptable sort of side of things, where you're not too fat, you're not too thin, you're muscly, you work out, you've got the right hair, and you're not too old, and all this sort of stuff. And then someone comes along like Susan Boyle and throws that completely on his head. And I love that. I think that's brilliant. It's great, as far as I'm concerned, to see someone to come out like that, who is ordinary, a very ordinary background, a very sheltered background, whatever you want to call it, but someone who's got a real talent. And now she's got that opportunity to put that talent out there. Well, she has already, whether she knows it or not. She's put herself forward, and there you go. And I think that's absolutely brilliant. It creates a bit of a level playing field for everybody. And as I said before, if it hadn't been for those reality TV programs, this never would have happened. But if it hadn't been for YouTube, it never would have happened. Certainly not in a global aspect as well. Although it created a little mini sensation here in Britain when she went onto the program, and other people have done the same. There's been a couple of other acts that I have seen who obviously got talent, and they're being talked about in the newspapers and things like that as well, and probably get a lot of exposure, invited onto other programs, etc. But it was the international aspect of Susan Boyle's that's really sort of thrown this up, I think. The Americans getting involved once again, possibly because here's an ordinary person with this great voice. As I said, they would never have got the chance to do it, and YouTube has been the channel for that as well. I'm sure that a lot of the Americans picked up on it because of what was happening on YouTube through the videos. And that can happen to you and I as well. And that's a point that I possibly made before. We put ourselves out there and people can get discovered on this. We've seen it with musicians. Whether it would ever happen with a humble vlogger or someone who makes their music, ordinary music, and that, I'm not sure. Yes, some musicians have done it as well, and have done quite well out of this, and I think that's great as well. You never know what's around the corner. You never know who might sort of see these types. I've said it before, it only takes one person to watch a particular video or something, or to spot something, and they tell that, and the old viral thing comes in. There's a story I remember, and forgive me if I have told this before, about when the band The Police first went to America. They sort of went over there very low key, took their instruments with them before they'd made any sort of big records or anything like that. They did some very small dates in pubs and clubs and things like this in America, and they were in the northeast of America, I think it was, and they turned up at this particular bar or club that they were playing in, and there were only about 5 people in the audience. And what a lot of bands might do is sort of cancel the gig. This is a waste of time. We're not going to get any money out of this or whatever, because you do pay by the amount of beer that the place sells or something like that. But they thought, no, we're going to play it. We can even use it as a practice session or something. We're going to play our set. We're going to do it, even if it's like a dress rehearsal or something like that. So they did their gig. But in the audience that night was a DJ from a local radio station or something. And he liked what he heard. He got a copy of Roxanne off of them and started playing it on his local radio station. And like this, like the viral video sort of thing that goes on, other people heard this and thought, oh, I like that, that's a bit different. They started playing it, the next station started playing it, other people started picking up on it, and the rest, as they say, is history. So it only takes one person out of 5, out of 2. It doesn't matter how many people are actually watching, but if the right people are watching, you never know what might happen. And that's what I like about this site. It enables us to do things, it enables us to put things out, to give us an opportunity, whether people are watching or not. Even if you only get a handful of views, you've got that opportunity for people to see what your work, or whatever it might be, whether it be your talent as a singer, a video maker, a photographer, a filmmaker, generally a comedian, you know, all the types of genres of videos that we've still got here on YouTube. We can compete with the Disneys, we can compete with the other people. Okay, we might be hidden off to the side, but as I said, just because those people are getting millions and millions of views doesn't make their videos any better than your video. And as I said, it only takes one person to watch it, to create a buzz, to pass it on, and we all know how that can happen. We all do it without these jokes and things that you get via emails, and you send it on to your friends and they send it on, and before you know it, you're getting it back again because it's spread around those circles. So I'm pleased about that. It's created a few accidental superstars. It's created a bit of a level playing field. Maybe not quite the same. It's a bit bumpy in places, but it's given us an opportunity that we didn't have. And I think that's one good thing about these sort of stations and programs and YouTube, etc., that we didn't have before. So I'm thankful for that. And you never know, you might be the next accidental superstar. So watch this space, as they say. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for your time. I shall speak to you again soon. Goodbye.